Chris Godinez, licensed professional counselor, also the host of We Need to Talk on every Sunday at noon, which I then post up to Facebook of the same name. This video is for educational and informational purposes only. If you feel you need a therapist, please go to Google, type in therapy, your city, Psychology Today will pop up, click on that, and it will have qualified therapists in your area. Also, the views and opinions stated herein are mine and mine alone. They do not represent the ACA, the APA, or any other damn therapist for that matter. Boom, shakalaka, done. Okay, so I wanted to answer some more questions. Okay, when somebody has PTSD or CPTSD, do they use passive-aggressive behavior? Because it's the only way they can survive or express feelings and needs. Yeah, they can. The problem of it is, though, is that passive-aggressive behavior or passive-aggressiveness does not endear them to anybody. So what they would do, or what would be a good idea, is to maybe suggest to them that they need to get some therapy. And they need to work on that, because what served us in childhood when we were little does not serve us out in the general population or if we are in a healthy relationship. Passive aggressiveness will not get you what you want. In fact, it will get you the polar opposite of what you want. So, because passive aggressiveness, it tends to push healthy people away. They don't like it. I don't like it. You know, it's like I would much rather have somebody be open, honest, truthful, you know, kind, you know, non-snarky, and tell me what they need, as opposed to snarky, mean, nasty, going around the corner, you know, doing the scenic route to the truth. It's like, no, thank you. So, yeah, it can be used as a defense mechanism, absolutely, but if they're doing that, you want to call them out on it, and you want to say, this stops. This is not healthy. I don't like it. I'm not willing to put up with it. Here's a good trauma therapist. Go work on it. So yeah, absolutely. Is virtue signaling a common trait with covert narcissists? Yes, it is a common trait with all narcissists. So what they'll do is they'll tell you how virtuous they are. Oh, I'm big into the truth, or I am big into, you know, honesty, and I have this value and I have that value, all these virtues kind of thing. And they signal it. They're like telling you how wonderful they are, when in fact they are lying, cheating, stealing, gaslighting, disrespectful, name calling, you know, you name it. And they're trying to set you up for a bill of goods. You know, it's like, oh, I'm this, I'm this, I'm this. But then they do something polar opposite, and then again, that sets up cognitive dissonance. It's like, oh, wait, you told me you were this, but you're doing this. I don't understand. So yeah, all narcissists do that. They're trying to set you up, basically. So, you know, they're telling you how wonderful they are when they're not. Somebody who has to blow their own horn about how truthful and wonderful and good they are, you may want to be very careful. Because actions, again, speak louder than words. People who are truthful, honest, you know, good moral compass, etc., you see their actions. If you have to constantly tell people how good and truthful and honest and blah, 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 blah you are, then, yeah, not so much. What are the actions? Look at the actions. The actions give the person away. Even with psychopaths, the actions give the person away. They can say pretty stories all they like and want, but if you look at their actions and their words do not match, you are dealing with a world-class liar. So yeah, yeah, absolutely. Okay, next question. I find metaphysics interesting. Can I be diagnosed with something ugly because of that? No. Here's the thing. Hold on. It's one of the two, and I can't remember which one it is. It's schizoaffective and schizotypal. And one of them has got magic thinking. And one of the qualifiers in it is, you know, believing in ghosts, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Well, it's not just believing in ghosts. That's kind of it's kind of misleading. What that type of thinking is like, it's not just, you know, oh, I like crystals and I like to meditate. It's not like that. What it is they believe that they have control over this spiritual realm, okay? Like, oh, if you wear this certain color shirt, you're signaling to me that you want me to make contact with you. That's that kind of magic thinking. Does that make sense? Or if I do this certain act, it's going to impact the world around me, and it will be my fault or my responsibility that this world event happened. I mean, it's that kind of like magic thinking. Metaphysical stuff, no. You know, a lot of A lot of people are metaphysical, and the only time it becomes a problem is when it becomes magic thinking. And when I say magic thinking, I'm not talking about magic. I'm talking about like illogical, doesn't make sense. You're thinking that, you know, if you do this certain act, it's going to affect the world stage. It's like, not so much. Do you see where I'm going? Or if somebody wears a certain color, that they're signaling to you that, you know, that they want you to call them or whatever. So that's that kind of magic thing. It doesn't make any sense. It's not logical, and it impacts their lives because in schizotypal, schizoaffective, I can't remember which one it is. I forgot to look it up before I started this. Anyway, whichever one it is, it affects their lives because they run their whole lives by the magic thinking, and it impacts what they do, who they talk to, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It starts affecting their world. So no, you cannot be diagnosed with something ugly because of it. And if you are, I would fire that therapist and find another one. So, okay. I mean, unless, of course, it's impacting your life and it's keeping you from living your life. So that would be something completely different. Okay, question. My 75-year-old dad had a stroke, and my narc brother keeps abusing him and causing him stress. My mom is afraid of my brother and won't stand up to him to protect my dad. Any advice? Well, the only thing you can do is talk to an attorney. That's the only thing you can do. I don't know what else to tell you. If the mom is not willing to protect the dad from the brother, then I would speak to an attorney and see if there's any sort of legal recourse. They're adults. Unfortunately, there's not much you can do. So talk to an attorney. Do narcissists love bomb, devalue, and threaten to discard to keep you dependent on them? Yes. So if they see that you're starting to break away from them, they'll love bomb, and then immediately run through the cycle. It's like the abuse cycle where it's like love bomb, and then over here it starts building tension, and then the devalue starts happening, and then the abuse hits, and then there's this period where it's like, you know, they try to, you know, discard you, etc., and then all of a sudden it's love bomb again. Yeah, absolutely. It's a crazy cycle. It drives us crazy, you betcha. Yeah, they love to do that, especially when they see that you are moving away from them. You know, absolutely. How do I deal with the feeling that I need to save people who are victims of abuse, especially when I see it or hear about it? So part of that is codependency, because we were raised to take care of other people. We simply were. You know, if we had abuse, neglect, drug addict, alcoholic, etc. in our family, we were raised to caregive, right? The thing of it is we are not supposed to save everybody. You save those who want to be saved, and that's it. So you cannot save the unwilling, in other words. So what I would do is I would work on, and there's nothing wrong with wanting everybody to get healthy. I would love for everybody to get healthy. I would love for everybody to be okay. That would be great, you know, and then I could go retire and open a bed and breakfast somewhere. So, but if this wanting to save them is becoming a savior complex, you know, it's like I have to save them, I have to save them, I have to save them, then you may want to talk to a therapist about codependency and see what that's all about. Who did you really want to save? Who's the first person you wanted to save? That kind of thing. It's normal to have feelings of empathy for abuse. You know, when I see stuff on the news, I mean, poor John, it's like sometimes he'll come out and he's like, stop reading the news because I'm sitting here crying, you know. But when that happens, it's kind of like you have to kind of go, okay, is there anything I can do? Buddhist worry chart. Is there anything I can do about it? Well, limited, you know, then I have to let it go, you know. So unless you're a therapist or you're, you know, in some way able to affect change, you know, there's very limited things you can do. So it's figuring out who you really wanted to save. Absolutely. And recognize you can only save the willing. You cannot save the unwilling. If people really don't want help, make sure they're not ask holes. In other words, an ask hole is somebody who like, help me, and then you help them, and then 2 seconds later, they're right back with the same problem. It's like, oh, okay, you didn't really want the help. You're an asshole. They enjoy the drama. So recognize the difference between the willing and the unwilling. So yeah, absolutely. Okay, is it normal for them, okay, for the abusers to do and say things that hurt you and then forget about it and ask you to do something for them, and any attempt to hold them accountable gets you accused as unforgiving? Oh yeah. Oh God, yeah, they do that all the time. So an abuser will say and do the most horrible things and then act as if nothing's ever happened ask you to do them a favor, ask you to go out of your way, and if you try to hold them accountable for it, oh, boom, it'll explode, and you're the problem, and you're unforgiving, and what's your problem, and blah, blah, blah. They don't take responsibility for their stuff. They do not apologize. They don't. And if they do, it's a fake apology. It's like, oh, I'm sorry I'm sorry, but I'm sorry you made me, and then they just do it again. So anyone who apologizes and then does the behavior again is not sorry. Watch for the actions. Again, actions speak louder than words. Abso-freaking-lutely. Okay. Okay, hang on. My narcissist mother-in-law behaves very nicely in front of her husband. Does my father-in-law know that my mother-in-law is a narc? I don't know. Without seeing the dynamics, I have no idea. Some people are in deep denial. You know, they know it, but they don't want to know it. So it's like they know it, but they don't. You know what I mean? So, yeah. So I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I would have to see the dynamics to give you a better answer. Any advice for dealing with two covert narcissists who gang up on you? My mother-in-law and my sister-in-law. One seems to be a major narc, and the other narc has narc qualities and is a flying monkey. So what you do is you gray rock, and you absolutely do not put up with behavior. You get your spouse on the same page. You get a good therapist, couples therapist that can help you navigate this so that both you and your spouse are on the same page, and the mother-in-law and the sister-in-law are not able to do a divide and conquer, because that's what they do. So, yeah, and you just gray rock. You don't tell them anything important. Nothing. No emotion, gray rock, or no contact. That's the best way to do it. Okay, after 2 years, I was discarded. Now it's difficult to stay away from the covert narcissist. He isolated me from family, and I know only one in this. I know only one person in the state. It's been 2 years. How to completely heal. So what you want to do is you want to get with a good therapist. Seriously, get with a good trauma therapist and work on all the trauma from the abuse, and do your list of deal breakers, and then write down every rotten thing your abuser did to you. Notice how many of them they violated, and that should hopefully remind you why you don't want to be around them. With working with a good trauma therapist, you want to work on being able to socialize. And of course, we're in the middle of a pandemic, so it's really hard to socialize now. But you can do Zoom meetings, Zoom meetups. You can do, you know, that type of thing. Get involved in things like that. So yeah, get with a good trauma therapist. Okay, my father was diagnosed as schizoaffective when he was about 30, but showed many traits of narcissism before and after. Is there a link between the two? You can have both. So this is something that people don't understand. It's like you can be depressed and a narcissist. You can be schizophrenic and narcissistic. You can be, you know, you can have borderline personality disorder and narcissistic personality disorder. It's an and world, people. It's an and world. So you can have both. It's called co-morbidity. So you can have two diagnoses, two of them. Anyway, so that's, yeah, they're different, but you can have both at the same time. Absolutely. Can two borderlines or a borderline and a dark triad couple ever be happy together, or are they just going to end up miserable or killing each other? If the borderline personality disordered partners are in therapy and they work on the original family wounds that caused the borderline behavior, they could be happy, provided they are constantly working on these behaviors so that it doesn't impact the current relationship. If a borderline gets with a dark triad, oh, sweet baby Jesus, it's like a shark feeding frenzy. The dark triad will eat the borderline for breakfast and spit them out for lunch. They are fucking evil. I cannot even begin to tell you how evil they are. And they love to prey like a predator on borderlines. So it's a common combination, a borderline with a dark triad or a borderline with a narcissist. And it's just continually wounding the borderline to the point where they're just a shell of who they were. So, yeah, no, that one will never work, ever. Dark triads are narcissistic, psychopath, Machiavellian, so psychopath, antisocial personality disorder. So they have no moral compass, none. Zip, zero, zilch, nada. They don't have empathy. Borderlines usually have a lot of empathy or a lot of feeling, okay? A lot of emotion. And the narcissist, the dark triad, will feed off of every upset. They'll intentionally upset the borderline just to get a reaction, just so they can get the narcissistic supply. So it's not a matter of killing each other. It's going to be a matter of the narcissist killing the borderline, spiritually, you bet. Okay, so there's that for that group of questions. How are we doing on time? We're doing okay. 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 How do you confront when your parents do parentification, victim mode, and you were a child, when you were a child, you made me happy. I'd be nothing without you. Let's love each other as a family, etc. So here's the thing, guys. Confrontation is never going to work with your abusers. It's not going to change them. It's not going to change them. If you confront, it's going to be more along the lines of, no, you don't get to manipulate me. No, I'm not going to put up with your bullshit. No, you're not going to yell and scream and whatever. I am walking away. Goodbye. And turning around and walking out. That's confrontation with an abusive family. If you try to confront the family and go, but, don't you see you did this, and this is dysfunctional and da-da-da-da-da, what they're going to do is they're going to shove their fingers in their ear and they're going to go, la, 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 I'm not listening, la, 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 la. Why can't we just all get along? You know, that's what they're going to do. So you don't. And they're going to twist the truth and they're going to parentify and they're going to, you know, victim mode, poor me, blah, blah, blah. So you don't even bother. You don't even bother. You do not bother. You know, if you do it once and they do that, they've shown you who they are. Stop. They are not going to change. And this is what is so heartbreaking, I think, for so many targets of abuse, is that the little kid inside so desperately wants them to admit what they did, to get what they did, and to start changing. And it's not gonna happen. I wish it would. I wish it would. It would be a wonderful, wonderful world if you could just do the easy button, boop, you know, or the enlightenment button, boop, and everybody just kind of went, wow, dude, I did this, I need to make amends, let me make amends. It's never going to happen. I wish it would, but it's not. So trying to get your abusers to admit to their abuse is, you'd have a better conversation with this wall, a more in-depth, more satisfying conversation with this wall than you will with trying to talk to your abuser. So find out your reasons for confronting. Confrontation with an abuser is just like banging your head into a wall. What confrontation needs to be is when you are out of the abusive relationship and you're learning boundaries and you're saying no to things that no longer serve you. And confrontation with abusers is when you're out of that relationship and you're saying no to their abuse. Does that make sense? You're not confronting them to change them. You're confronting them by putting up boundaries and saying, nope, buck stops here. I'm done with the abuse. Not doing it anymore. Okay. Can you talk more about letting our deal breakers be known at the beginning of a relationship? I heard this was not a good idea. I don't know where you heard this was not a good idea. Here's the thing. It's like, if you don't let people know what your deal breakers are, they're not going to know those are deal breakers. So they have to kind of stumble their way around. When they break one, then you get pissed. No. What you do is you kind of go, okay, you know, I don't put up with lying. I don't put up with cheating. I don't put up with stealing. I don't put up with this. I don't put up with that. Period. Period. And then when they do it, you can go, remember that conversation we had? Yeah. And if they break it again after you remind them, be done. Be absolutely done. Now, narcissists will want to know everything about you. Well, but why don't you like those? Why is that a deal breaker? Da 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 da. This is again one of those time periods where you get to say no and mean it, and it's like, well, that's my deal breaker. It's kind of like no is a complete sentence. This is my deal breaker. Complete sentence. Do you see where I'm going with that? So you just got to trust your gut on that one, who you're talking to, etc. Okay. Is there any way to protect yourself from sadistic people? If you're in a friendship with one of them, I finally went no contact after she used my triggers against me. So scary. Again, actions speak louder than words. If someone harms you intentionally, and this is, you know, it's like you let them know, it's like, hey, this is a trigger, don't do this, and they do it, then it's like, oh, motherfucker, that was on purpose. Fuck you. You know, be done. So you watch their actions. How do they treat people? How do they treat you? How do you feel when you leave them? Are you energized and excited and happy? Or are you like, oh my God, I am so drained? Watch how you feel. Exactly. You protect yourself by having boundaries. You protect yourself by having a list of deal breakers, what you won't put up. I won't put up with anybody intentionally harming me. I won't. I abso-fucking-lutely will not. Do you see where I'm going with that? So you've got to have your list of deal breakers, and you've got to stick to that. And don't feel bad about booting people out of your life. It's got to happen on occasion. My ex used to fall asleep at 8 p.m. and wake up when I went to bed at 11. I made excuses about it. Later, when I said how hurtful it was, he said, I know, I did that to you every night. Because they do things on purpose, guys. Cruelty is the point with these assholes. I kid you the fuck not. Cruelty is the point. They get off on harming people. They get off on hurting people. They get off on the power trip of it. Oh, look, I made so-and-so sad, angry, hurt, whatever. It's a power trip to them. They're sick motherfuckers. They enjoy it. Cruelty is the point. Okay. I told my narc dad why no contact was because I've struggled with them over the years and don't want to suppress. Their reply was, it hasn't been easy for us either. We've been in the same lockdown. And my mom is staying silent. Okay, so look, guys, you can't change them. Again, if you explain no contact to an abuser, they're not going to get it. They're not. They're not going to understand. Don't even try. Don't even try. So, you know, they're showing you who they are. Walk the fuck away. Stay no contact. Block, block, block. You'll have a much happier life. Okay. My dad is a narcissist and is the main reason why I am attracting only narcs. I haven't lived with him after I was 5 years old, yet somehow I have zero self-esteem. So self-esteem is really the core to everything. And it's really important to work on that. So get with a good therapist. Start working the Self-Esteem Workbook by Glenn Schiraldi or You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero. Those are two really good self-esteem books. The Disease to Please, Harriet Breaker, and Codependent No More and Beyond Codependent No More, both by Melanie Beattie. Also, PM Melody has a bunch of good books on codependency. So it doesn't really matter because think about it. The first 2 years of our lives are really important developmentally. So I would say work on Inner Child Workbook, Catherine Taylor, and get with a good therapist. Work on the low self-esteem. Get it back up, okay? I don't know how to set boundaries with a spouse around his rageful moments, drinking and pot smoking, and not listening to me occasionally unless I threaten violence. I don't know what to do. Okay. When somebody rages, when somebody's drunk or altered state, they're out of their mind, they're using substances, whatever. Again, you cannot rationalize with them. You cannot reason with them. They're not going to get it. They're not. So the only thing you can do is set a boundary. I'm not putting up with this. Turn around and leave when they start raging. Let them know you've got a drug problem, you've got an alcohol problem, you need help, that kind of thing, and then decide what you want. And it may involve you leaving. So you can't change them, hun. You can't change them. You cannot save them. You cannot fix them. You did not break them. You can point out the problems, but if they become enraged or angry or scream and yell and blah, 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 turn around and walk out. Turn around and walk out. You cannot fix them. Okay, so my daughter, who's 29, I've always had a good talking relationship with. She suddenly stopped talking to me after my divorce from my second marriage to a covert narcissist. What do I do? You could just say, hey, I feel like we've stopped talking to each other. I don't understand why. Would you be willing to come with me to a counselor to work on our relationship? That's one way you could do it. Or, you know, I would love to talk with you. I don't understand why. Please let me know so I can fix it. You know, that kind of thing. Try to get the door to conversation going again. Getting a third party, getting a counselor would probably be a really good idea. Okay, this is an autism question. So it seems like people on the autism spectrum often have traits that look like narcissism. Yeah, it can. It can look like narcissism because they don't If they're higher on the spectrum and they don't respond to social cues or they don't respond to emotional cues, then it can seem like it's callousness, but it's not. It's very different. The person exaggerates when telling stories, wants to be the center of attention, what they know, and they tell stories that they know are not true. If you stand up for yourself or say something about it, they say you're a bitch, etc. So that doesn't sound like autism. That sounds like some other issue. So I would go to the Mayo Clinic, I would look up autism, and then I would also look up narcissistic personality disorder and then compare, that kind of thing. Okay, last question. Why do narcs question or target our sexuality? Because they want you to feel like doo-doo. So if somebody is very sensual, very loving, very, giving, very, that type of thing, the narcissist will target that. Whatever it is that you're feeling good about yourself for, they will target that. So I've seen narcissists in public humiliate their spouse. They can't get it up, they can't have an orgasm, they can't, male or female, whatever, do that. I've seen multiple times, and it's to make the person feel small. It's to make them feel doubtful. It's to humiliate them. It's to make them feel bad about themselves so that the narcissist can then control them, because the target of abuse is not very likely to fight back. How many of us fought back to our original abusers? Not very many of us. So that's why recognizing that is a form of abuse. Targeting sexuality, making fun of any sort of sexual dysfunction, that is abuse. Abso-fucking-lutely. Be wary of the person who does that. So yeah, it's just a way to control. It's a way to manipulate. It's a way to make less than. It's a way so that they can feel powerful. Look at me, I'm putting you down, I'm so powerful. And what they don't realize is that normal, healthy people are looking at them going, loser, what the fuck are you doing? So yeah, absolutely. Okay, kids, that's all the time I have for today. So Sunday is going to be about our relationship with money. I think it's really, really, really important to talk about that, because I do know, coming from a narcissistic family or in a narcissistic relationship, our relationship with money gets really messed up. And so we need to talk about that. Okay, have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye.